Let's move on with the practice. I'm going to shift more to my approach shots. So I have a 7-iron in my hand. I'm going to work through 7-iron, 8-iron, 9-iron. Now I have some targets that are out on the range, and I used my laser range finder to find out how far those targets are. There's two things that I could do here. Number one is I could learn to make a swing that would hit a shot that distance to those targets, or I could use those targets, since I know how far they are, to figure out how far I'm hitting my normal shot. Now, my approach to this is I would much rather have one swing that I hit consistently the same distance, and then when I get on the golf course, adjust based on that swing, rather than try to have a perfect swing for a bunch of different yardages. That's a bunch of different swings. Here's what I mean. Let's just say on average I hit my 7-iron 170 yards. That's my average swing, full swing. So if I have a 160-yard swing, then I know it's my full swing less a little bit. In other words, I don't have to have a 165-yard swing, a 160-yard swing, or a 175-yard swing. It's one swing with one variation to plus or minus depending on what the yardage is. That's my goal and the way I approach doing this. So when I'm out here hitting to targets, I'm not trying to hit to the target. I'm trying to hit that direction, but then I'm plotting where each one of those balls lands, and I'm getting an average distance for how far I hit that shot. Now, when I'm working on my scoring shots, when I have a wedge in my hand, I want to have a full swing and a 3/4 swing. Those are the two shots that I focus on. It's a little different when I start getting into 9-iron, 8-iron, 7-iron. I want two different shots that I can repeat, but they're a little different. I have a full swing, and then with my 7, 8, 9-iron, I have what I call a knockdown or a punch shot. Now my knockdown or my punch shot with a 7-iron is probably going to go about an 8-iron or maybe a long 9-iron distance. So what that does is it gives me lots of options when I'm out there on the golf course. Plus I'm a little bit more accurate with my knockdown shots, and they're great shots to learn to hit into the wind. I tend to not have so many 3/4 swings with a 9-iron, 8-iron, and 7-iron. So I prefer to have a different kind of a shot, even though I know when I've seen myself on video, when I'm doing my, my knockdown shots, it still looks like a 3/4 swing. I just think of them a little differently. I think the main difference on my knockdown shots is the trajectory. When I have a 3/4 swing with my wedges, it goes the same trajectory as a full swing. But when I'm hitting my knockdown shots with my approach clubs, maybe all the way down to a 6-iron, then it's a lower trajectory, more boring, and it's a shot that I'll hit more into the wind or when I need to have a little bit more control. So a different couple of philosophies, a different couple of shots that you should have with every club in your bag. So you have more options, and there are different skills to learn. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of sets of 10-ball sets, and I'm going to plot where each one of my clubs lands. I'll do a 7-iron, 8-iron, 9-iron. I'm going to plot where they land relative to my target, so I know what the distance is, and by the end of this I'm going to have a pretty good feel for how far I hit that club. Again, I've got a target out there, but I'm not trying to hit to that specific target. I'm not trying to create that swing. What I want is I want a swing that I can repeat, not necessarily a yardage. The yardage will come because I'm repeating the swing. And I go through my routine for every single shot, so it's the same. And I've got my alignment rods out, so I know that alignment is not going to be any kind of an issue. You notice too that I'm holding my position after each one of my shots so that I can watch and see where that ball comes down. The idea is I'm holding my finish position, and as I'm holding my finish position, I'm doing a post-shot routine. So there are several things that I check in my post-shot routine, one of which is my balance position. Do I have all my weight up on my front foot, or am I hanging back, or am I leaning into the side? That's one of my checkpoints. Second checkpoint for me is, am I finishing up? I'm going to do this at the camera. Second checkpoint for me is, am I finishing up with my hands in the correct position, more or less on plane? For me, I like to be at the corner of my shoulder, over here in this position, not with the elbows split, not with my thumb in my ear. So that's the second one. The third checkpoint that I'm looking for is, did I finish my rotation? In other words, did my hips wind up facing all the way at the target? Even if my shoulders over rotate, or my hips faced at the target. So by the time I've hit a series of 10 shots, I have a pretty good sense of how far, on average, my nice comfortable full swing goes.